it is the time to pay back. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to That's the Point. This is Shoaib Farooqui. Today we have a very special guest all the way from Canada who will be joining us, Robert Kuchinski, who is an oil and gas professional for around 35 years. He is a petroleum geologist and worked all around the world with a lot of progressive companies. We work together with Weatherford for quite some time, and he is a frequent visitor to Pakistan, and he have contributed a lot to in the growth of oil and gas sector within Pakistan, introduction of new technologies, and his core domain was formation evaluation, and he is one of the pioneers of the slim hole formation evaluation technology. And he is joining us all the way from Canada today to discuss the subject of what's going on all around the world, especially with oil and gas industry, energy industry, how it is progressing and how it is shaping up in the coming days. So let's move to the video recording of our Zoom call, and I hope you will enjoy it. But don't forget to subscribe my channel, and this will help you to be in touch and getting all sort of updates. Thank you. So, Bob, I welcome you to That's the Point. I really appreciate your presence and your time. And it's been a long time. We are interacting through this medium, but it's always nice to be with you. And I'll definitely introduce you separately, and I will adjust it in the video, the final video. So now today's topic is related to what's going on with the energy market and the global scenario. And you are the best resource, I believe, to shed some light for our audience, because in Pakistan, most of the we are a net importer of oil. So whenever the oil prices goes up, our economy, there is a lot of inflation and there are a lot of challenges. So we can't do much because we are fully dependent on imports. So that's why I opted to choose this topic. And this is the first time I'm seeing that the natural gas prices are also going up. It's not just the oil prices, but the natural gas prices are also going up. So what is your perspective on this scenario?
Well, I think, first of all, thanks for having me on. But I think right now we're in a situation where we're coming out of COVID, and we're seeing a demand for energy starting to pick up again. And I think that's a critical point to make, because for quite a while, since the pandemic started, we've been fairly, the activity for traveling and activity for manufacturing has been on the low side, and the demand for energy has been quite low. But as people have started to get vaccinated, and they're starting to go back to work, and they're starting to get out and mingle more and spend more money and do some traveling, the demand for hydrocarbons is going up. Well, it's not just hydrocarbons; it's all energy. And the problem is that with the recent slowdown, a lot of the energy prices they were deflated for quite some time, and now it's changing over, because the world hasn't reacted in terms of bringing back enough supply to the market. So what you're seeing is a sudden increase in supply because the sudden increase in demand without the supply being there. So that obviously will cause a higher price.
So do you think that now, being oil professionals, oil and gas professionals, we should be looking increase in oil and gas activity all around the world? Uh, do you think that because as the demand is there, so we need to put more oil and gas in as a supply?
If this were the 1970s, we went through something like this in the 1970s, okay? And it was from something different. It was called the Arab oil embargo when a lot of the Middle East producers refused to sell their energy to the United States. And the United States just didn't have the energy. They just got caught very short without energy. And that was in the early 1970s, 1973, during the war with it, when Israel was in that war and the US was backing them. And this is what caused them to the US to get sort of cut out of the oil market for a period of time. And I was living through that time. I was in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a living. And the world demanded energy. And at that time, it was any type of energy: nuclear energy, solar energy, wind, coal, nuclear, uranium, oil, gas, coal, everything. Just get us energy. That was the thing. And so that was one of the drivers for me to study petroleum geology, because I figured there was going to be a demand for the commodity, and there would be jobs available, and it was something that the world needed. And during my career, of course, we went from not having great supplies of oil to having tremendous supplies of oil, because we went from figuring out how to get oil out of tar sands, and then oil and gas out of shale and the unconventionals, and it just allowed us to get a whole bunch of excess energy. But during that time, the environmental movement gained strength, and they pointed out that with all these emissions from burning fossil fuels, it was heating the planet, and we had to do something about trying to cut back on emissions and cut back on fossil fuels. So right now, yeah, we need to have more energy, more fossil fuel energy, but a lot of the oil companies and a lot of countries around the world, like particularly Canada and the United States, our governments are not encouraging our petroleum industry to get after it and find oil and gas again and try to produce it. In fact, they're trying to discourage it by putting in regulations that make it difficult to do that. So yeah, we'd like to get, I think the world needs more petroleum, but there's just too much politically, it's too difficult for many countries. So, so we're going to be faced with shortages possibly.
So, as there was a lot of hype in last 3 years, especially regarding renewable energy, and renewable energy with wind, solar, and other forms of energy, and it was said that this will replenish fossil fuel in next 7 or 8 years. But as now I'm seeing that because of these environmental changes all around the world, this is this is causing a delay in getting the supply from the renewable energy, and on the other hand there is a lot of demand all around the world. So it seems like that fuel will again be on the driving seat. So what's your opinion on this?
Well, yeah, it's we're having an energy transition. The world is going into this energy transition. It's undeniable. You know, people around the world are saying we have to do something about emissions, and we have to move away from fossil fuels, and we have to find something else. Okay, and I say something else because at the moment it's really not clear what that is. And I think what the environmental movement and what many of the government leaders are underestimating is the role in which fossil fuels play in the production and the transportation of just about everything. You know, it ranges from just about anything we buy at the store, from anything that's manufactured, anything in any type of food, any type of clothing. You know, we need fossil fuels to create it, or to ship it, or even to use it as a raw material, like in plastics, or some of these materials that are made from synthetic fibers, right, from fossil fuels. So the extent in which fossil fuels are being used by humanity is very underestimated by society, I think, in general. And to move away from that, I don't know how long it'll take for us to totally move away from that. And we have to move away to something else. And whether that be wind or solar or nuclear or whatever it is, it looks like it's going to be something to make electricity. And right now, it looks as though a lot of coal was taken off. You know, if you look at the emissions of the United States, you know, their emissions have actually gone down, and that's because they've gone from creating electricity from burning coal to using more natural gas, you know, and that has caused their emissions to come down a little bit, but it has caused the demand for natural gas to go up and the price for natural gas to go up. And in some places, I noticed today when I was reading this report for the short-term oil outlook from the energy agency, International Energy Agency, they were saying that coal is becoming more in demand now in some places, like in the United States and in China, because natural gas is just getting too expensive. So yeah, we're going through this painful period, and I think it's going to be with us for quite some time, this painful period.
Okay, so now as far as the young generation is concerned, they are going to opt their curriculum, and students who are studying petroleum geology or petroleum engineering, do you think that they should also start thinking differently, and they should include the subject of renewable energy in their curriculum, or they should read those concepts while they are studying petroleum engineering and petroleum geology?
Yeah, I think there are going to be programs being developed by universities and by academics around the world that will allow students to gain experience in energy management, you know, energy distribution, energy generation. You know, it doesn't. I think we're going to be looking at renewables and non-renewable energy as just both forms of energy. So you'll be learning about all of these areas. That's how young people have their young people in the energy industry will structure their education. That's what I think.
So tell me, how's things in Canada regarding under these circumstances when oil prices are somehow going up. It's around $78 a barrel, and as per my knowledge, that Canada is mostly dependent on oil imports. Uh, so kindly shed some light on it, that how things are going in Canada.
Well, I live in the heart of the oil producing part of Canada. That's in the west, and we're producing around 4 million barrels of oil a day, and that has grown. That is still going up. Okay. The rest of the country is quite on the other side of the coin in terms of the energy about fossil fuels. They're not in favor of fossil fuels. They've been blocking pipelines from my part of the country, so we can't export more oil. You know, our biggest customer for our oil is the United States. I think we sell about 2 million barrels a day to them. Out of I think they consume around 16 or 18 million barrels a day. We sell them 2 million a day, and most of the country runs on oil from our region, most of Canada, except there's about 700,000 barrels a day being imported from Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and that. So, well, it's a big political problem. It's a big political issue in Canada because the oil industry, the sale of crude oil from our region of the country makes up about 25% of our GDP of Canada. So, and which is shared across the country, you know. But there's a large number of people across the country that want to see the industry shut down because of environmental reasons. So we're going through quite an interesting time here. But the other thing is that as I was talking about this transition is not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over decades. It's going to happen very slowly because we have to find out what the alternative is going to be, and we have to start moving in that direction. And then we have to be weaning ourselves off oil and gas. And so what we say in Western Canada is that we should sell more oil to other parts of the world, because our oil is produced with very high environmental standards. Because there's so much opposition in our own country to oil, our industry has to jump through so many hurdles of regulations. So, and they're mostly environmental hurdles, and also human rights hurdles, because of the safety involved with operations and the hiring of different types of people, different genders, different religions, different races, different, so the inclusiveness of our industry is very high. The human rights record of the industry is very high, because that's what's demanded of it. So we're saying our oil is produced at a very high ethical level. So that implies that our emission standards will be lower than anybody else. So if our oil is produced with higher environmental standards, are you still there? That means our emissions will be lower than importing it from some other country where they don't have the same standards. That's our sales pitch.
Okay. So the last thing is regarding the Middle East. You have spent a lot of time in Middle East, and Middle East market, especially Saudi, UAE, Oman. They are pretty much, their economies are dependent on production of oil, and they don't have any other option that they should produce oil, and there should be a buyer for them for that oil. And now when US is not a major buyer from them, they are selling most of their oil to China. And this current scenario is keeping this oil prices at some higher level. But what do you believe that in coming days, that how this will be sustained, if this scenario will be sustained, or this price will come down, and the bulk buying of China will be reduced, because this what we have seen 2 years back, when the oil prices touched rock bottom.
I'm not good at predicting oil prices, but I think I see oil prices. I'm not surprised to see them where they are at now. I would think they're going to go higher, but of course there is an upper limit to what where they will go to, because production will eventually catch up to it if there's enough investment. If investment starts coming back into the industry, if the returns are good. That's going to be a bit tougher now, because there's so many oil companies that they can't get loans from banks. A lot of banks won't bankroll fossil fuel oil companies anymore. But also I think that that once there's going to be a peak in the demand, because if the demand will start leveling off after the pandemic eases a bit. So, what we've seen in terms of the growth in the oil price in the last year, I mean, I don't think we'll see that same growth over the next year. You know what I mean? So it will ease off a little bit, and then that'll cause the price to stabilize at some level. Whether we see the prices come down it's just a matter of how much spare capacity OPEC has. I've heard reports that OPEC doesn't have a lot of spare capacity. They say they're going to add 400,000 barrels a month to the market to soap up, to sop up some of the demand and keep the price kind of where it's at. But if the demand is even higher than that, we'll see where prices go. But I can tell you that most of the oil companies the major oil companies around in the United States, and certainly here in Canada, they're making a lot of money right now, but they're not putting very much of it back into the ground. They're paying it out in high dividends. They're buying back their shares. They're paying off their debt. So this is what the strategy of these oil companies are. It's not to put more money in the ground and increase their production. It's to maintain their production and use this windfall of money to help their balance sheet and shareholders.
Yeah, that's a quite interesting point, that they are not putting their money in ground, and they are making a lot of money. And
Yeah.
this was usually not the norm of this industry. as what we have seen in last decade. So that's an interesting point. So I really am really thankful, Bob, for your time and for your thoughts. They will be very much precious for us here in Pakistan. Always, you have always been a instrumental personality for our industry growth, and people still remember you. And we always have high regards for you whenever we, not just with the company we have worked for, but also in the industry where we have spent some time together with our peers and our seniors. So thank you very much, and I hope that this video will go a long way, and I'll share this video with all the senior industry professionals. And it is also a testimonial from your side that you still remember Pakistan, you still have great memories from Pakistan.
Well, the thing I remember about Pakistan that you brought to my attention was how under drilled it is. And I tell this to people here, and they find it hard to believe that an area that has an equivalent size basin to what we have here in Western Canada is only got less than 10,000 wells drilled into it. We used to drill. I think I heard there was a report today that the drilling in Western Canada is going to go up to around 4,000 wells a year for the next couple of years, which is better than it was, but it's way lower than what it was 10 years ago.
Yes, correct.
We've had several 100,000 wells drilled into our basin. And that's why we have 4 million barrels a day of production. We have as much production as Iraq or the UAE, some of, Kuwait probably.
Great.
But that's the thing about, I think what people don't realize, and I think this is the thing about all your viewers and all your listeners need to, to really consider the wide use of hydrocarbons, the dependency that we have on it. It's not going to be easy to give up because it's used everywhere. It's used somewhere along the line for just about everything we buy.
Yeah. And
to replace that with something else, whatever that something else is going to be, it's going to take a long time and a lot of investment. I understand that this COP26, they are trying to gather, was it $150 trillion globally to invest? They're trying to get people to invest that amount of money. And I think it's going to need that kind of money.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of money, and they're right to say that we need to invest that money. So I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see if people want to invest it. We'll see if the returns are there.
Sure. So thank you, Bob, once again. Have a great day. And
okay. I'm going to go to bed now. You have a great day.
Yeah.
I'm going now. It's 10 o'clock at night.
You're going to sleep now.
Yeah. You have a good day.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks.